Ladies and gentlemen, today we are going to talk about something every human being has experienced, yet very few truly understand: how to shut down rude people instantly without becoming rude yourself. This is not just a social skill. It is a psychological skill. It is emotional intelligence in action. It is the art of maintaining power without aggression, boundaries without hostility, and dignity without defense. Before we talk about shutting down rude behavior, we must first understand what rudeness actually is. Rudeness is not just harsh words. It is not only sarcasm, interruption, mockery, or dismissive tone. Rudeness is a psychological strategy. It is often an unconscious attempt to gain dominance, release insecurity, regulate internal frustration, or protect a fragile ego. When someone is rude, they are communicating something much deeper than the words they use. They are revealing their emotional regulation capacity, their self-esteem structure, and their perception of social hierarchy. Human beings are wired for status and belonging. From an evolutionary perspective, social standing meant survival. Being respected in a tribe increased access to resources and protection. Being humiliated meant vulnerability. Because of this, our brains are extremely sensitive to social signals. The amygdala, the part of the brain responsible for threat detection, does not distinguish between physical danger and social rejection. When someone speaks to us with contempt, interruption, or disrespect, our brain reacts as if we are under threat. Cortisol rises. Heart rate increases. Muscles tighten. Our body prepares for fight, flight, or freeze. That is why rude comments can feel so powerful. They activate primitive survival wiring. And that is also why many people either snap back aggressively or go silent and shrink. Both reactions are biological responses, not personal failures. Rudeness develops over time. Children learn it through modeling. If a child grows up in an environment where sarcasm, criticism, or belittling are normalized, they internalize it as a communication style. Others develop rudeness as a defense mechanism. When a person feels chronically insecure or powerless, they may use sharp words to temporarily feel superior. For some, rudeness becomes a way to avoid vulnerability. It is easier to mock than to admit fear. It is easier to interrupt than to listen and risk feeling inferior. When someone rolls their eyes while you speak, interrupts mid-sentence, uses a condescending tone, or makes a backhanded compliment, they are often signaling one of several internal states. They may feel threatened by your competence. They may feel impatient and lack impulse control. They may carry unresolved resentment. They may feel invisible and attempt to regain attention through shock value. Rudeness is frequently a sign of emotional immaturity. It reveals difficulty, tolerating discomfort, and difficulty managing internal stress. But here is the crucial insight. How you respond determines the psychological power dynamic. When you react emotionally, you validate their attempt to provoke. When you withdraw completely and remain silent out of fear, you reinforce their dominance. The key to shutting down rude people instantly without being rude lies in controlled emotional regulation and calibrated assertiveness. When a person does not respond impulsively to rudeness, it reveals something powerful. It reveals self-regulation. It shows that their prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for reasoning and decision-making, is stronger than their emotional trigger. Calmness in the face of provocation signals confidence. It signals that your self-worth is not dependent on someone else's tone. This alone often destabilizes a rude person because rudeness thrives on reaction. Let us analyze common rude behaviors and what they psychologically mean. Consider the person who constantly interrupts. Interruption is often a sign of anxiety combined with a need for control. The brain of an interrupter often runs ahead, fearing they will lose their thought or lose status in the conversation. By cutting others off, they attempt to secure relevance. If someone repeatedly talks over you, they may not consciously intend disrespect. They may unconsciously fear invisibility. Now consider sarcasm disguised as humor. Sarcasm is frequently passive aggression. It allows someone to express hostility while maintaining plausible deniability. I was just joking. Psychologically, this reveals conflict avoidance. They want to express resentment, but lack the courage for direct communication. If someone never uses sarcasm and communicates directly, it often indicates emotional maturity and lower social anxiety. Think about the person who gives backhanded compliments like, "You look good today," for once. This reveals comparative insecurity. They regulate their self-worth by subtly lowering others. It is a psychological balancing act. If they elevate you, they feel smaller, so they elevate and diminish at the same time. It is fragile. Ego management. Now let us look at the opposite behavior. When someone receives criticism calmly, asks clarifying questions, and does not become defensive, it signals high internal security. It suggests that their identity is not shattered by disagreement. They can separate feedback from self-worth. This is the type of presence that naturally shuts down rude behavior because it does not feed it. In daily life, rude interactions happen in workplaces, families, friendships, and even public spaces. Imagine a colleague who says in a meeting, "Did you even think this through?" The instinct may be to snap back or freeze, but a psychologically strong response would be calm eye contact and a neutral tone. Can you clarify what concerns you specifically? This response does several things. It refuses to accept the emotional framing. It redirects to content. It forces the rude person to move from vague attack to specific reasoning. Often, they cannot. And when they cannot, their authority collapses without you raising your voice. When someone mocks you socially, for example saying, "Wow, you're always so serious," they are testing social dominance. If you respond with embarrassment, they gain status. If you respond with aggression, you appear unstable. But if you respond with relaxed confidence, such as, "I like thinking deeply," you remove their leverage. You neither attack nor submit. You assert identity calmly. Psychologically, shutting down rudeness is about breaking the reward cycle. Many rude individuals are reinforced by reactions. Attention, anger, shock, or visible discomfort all reward. The behavior. When you respond with composure and concise boundaries, you remove reinforcement. Over time, behavior that is not rewarded diminishes. This is basic behavioral psychology. However, there are deeper emotional patterns involved. Chronic exposure to rudeness can damage self-esteem. If a person repeatedly tolerates disrespect without setting boundaries, they may internalize the narrative that they deserve it. This leads to learned helplessness, a condition studied extensively in psychology where individuals stop attempting to change negative situations because they believe nothing will work. They may become overly accommodating, anxious in social settings, and hyper-aware of tone and facial expressions. On the other side, individuals who constantly react aggressively to rudeness may develop chronic stress patterns. Their nervous system remains on high alert. They interpret neutral comments as threats. Over time, this hyperreactivity affects relationships and decision-making. It creates a cycle where they expect disrespect and unconsciously provoke it. The long-term consequences of not managing rude interactions properly can include social anxiety, lowered confidence, resentment buildup, burnout, and relationship deterioration. In professional settings, inability to handle rudeness calmly may limit leadership opportunities. Leaders are often evaluated not by how they behave in comfort, but by how they regulate under pressure. So how do psychologists analyze rude interactions? First, through behavioral observation, we examine tone shifts, micro-expressions, posture changes, and timing. Does the person lean forward aggressively? Do they smirk? Do they avoid eye contact after delivering a rude remark? These micro-behaviors reveal internal states. Avoiding eye contact after insult often signals insecurity. Prolonged, intense staring may signal dominance assertion. We analyze triggers. Does the rudeness appear when certain topics arise, around certain people, under stress? Rudeness often spikes when individuals feel threatened, tired, or publicly evaluated. We also examine patterns. Is the behavior consistent across environments or selective? Selective rudeness often indicates strategic dominance behavior rather than lack of awareness. We examine the target's response as well. Does the person shrink physically, cross arms defensively, laugh nervously, over-explain? These responses reveal fear of rejection or conflict avoidance. If someone maintains open posture, steady breathing, and moderate tone, it reveals emotional stability. Now, let us discuss the internal work required to shut down rude people instantly. It begins before the interaction. It begins with self-concept. People who know their values, strengths, and boundaries are less shaken by external tone. They do not need to prove worth in every conversation. Their identity is stable. When identity is stable, insults lose power. It also requires cognitive reframing. Instead of interpreting rudeness as, "I am being attacked because I am inadequate," reframe it as, "This person is displaying poor regulation." That shift moves you from personal hurt to analytical distance. Emotional distance increases control. There is also a neurological component. Slow breathing activates the parasympathetic nervous system, reducing fight-or-flight activation. A calm body creates a calm response. A calm response projects power. Shutting down rudeness without being rude does not mean tolerating abuse. It means setting boundaries with clarity. A simple, calm sentence such as, "I don't appreciate that tone," delivered without sarcasm, is powerful. It names behavior without attacking identity. It creates accountability without escalation. When someone refuses to engage in gossip or mockery, it signals strong internal ethics. When someone laughs along with disrespectful jokes about themselves, it may signal low boundaries or fear of exclusion. When someone calmly says, "Let's keep it respectful," it signals self-respect and social intelligence. In relationships, repeated rudeness often masks deeper dissatisfaction. Couples who engage in contempt, eye-rolling, and sarcasm are statistically at higher risk of separation because contempt erodes emotional safety. In friendships, subtle belittling can slowly poison trust. In workplaces, unchecked rude behavior spreads culturally. People model what is tolerated. The ability to shut down rude behavior instantly is therefore not just personal, it is cultural leadership. It sets a tone. Let me leave you with this psychological truth. Power in social dynamics does not belong to the loudest person. It belongs to the most regulated person. The individual who can remain composed under provocation controls the emotional climate, and emotional climate controls outcomes. When you respond to rudeness with grounded calmness, brief assertiveness, and steady eye contact, you send a powerful subconscious message. Your attempt to destabilize me has failed. That message is felt more than heard. And here is something profound. When you master this skill, rude people begin to avoid targeting you, not because you attack them, but because you are no longer a rewarding target. Bullies seek reaction. Insecure individuals seek comparison. Dominance seekers seek submission. When you offer none of these, their strategy collapses. Ultimately, shutting down rude people without being rude is not about controlling others. It is about mastering yourself. It is about understanding that their behavior is information, not definition. It is about responding from strength rather than reacting from wound. And when you reach that level of psychological awareness, something changes. You walk into rooms differently. You speak differently. You listen differently. And even before a word is said, your presence communicates something powerful. Respect is required here. That is how you shut down rudeness instantly. Not with volume, not with humiliation, but with composure, clarity, and unwavering self-respect.